So the question is for this Journey of Sunday, is spirituality religion? Is religion spirituality? My answer would be no, but sometimes yes, but other times definitely no. So these are definitely two terms that tend to live side by side pretty often, but can have really different meanings and very different emotional experiences depending on people's individual experiences within spiritual and religious realms. I've mentioned before I didn't grow up in a highly religious family, but I definitely was very into this specific Nazarene church youth group, and it was around like 8th and 9th grade that I was in this youth group. During this time, my group of friends faced a really incredible tragedy. We had 4 of our good friends that were in a really intense car accident with a hazmat truck. 2 died instantly, and 2 were permanently crippled. For me, this was the first time I really had to face the concept of death, and really the first time that I think I finally faced what true spirituality meant. So at that point, I went searching. I was looking for an answer because, to me, these were good people. And how did something so horrible happen to these really good people? Now, I would say that this youth group was more of a community than it was even a religious study or religious gathering, but within that group, I definitely didn't find those answers. And even our pastor, in my conversations with him, it wasn't his fault, but he just did not have anything that really spoke to any truth for me. And that's where I feel my true spiritual journey really began. A few episodes ago on Journey of Sunday, we did actually pose the question, what is spirituality? Most of the responses that came back really had something to do with a connection to the divine, or something that was unexplainable. And that unexplainable place, I feel like, is where religions kind of kick into gear. Because to me, when I think of religion, I think of cultures or groups that they have doctrine to try to explain that unexplainable part that we connect to. And the path to that connection usually has specific techniques of worship or practice, certain doctrines of code, behaviors, and in many ways, those are the defining factors to those individual religions. So that's when the question comes in. Are religion and spirituality somehow inextricably linked? And I would think that most of us would agree that the answer is probably no. And if you take my experience with my youth group, I would say that's a great example because I was in a religious experience. I was practicing a religion, but was it a spiritual experience? It definitely was not. And for some, maybe that's the defining point. Maybe for many of you, you'd say, well, that wasn't even religion because it didn't have that sacred piece of spiritual connection. And then definitely on the other side of it, many of you, I know, agree that you can definitely have an extremely spiritual person that does not refer to themselves in any way as being religious. And in fact, that's where I would place myself at this point, is that I definitely consider myself to be a highly, highly spiritual person, but I don't consider myself to be a religious person. But the practices, the beliefs that I hold, and kind of my personal doctrine, much of that comes from studying the world's religious and spiritual practices. And so, even as I say that, maybe I am a religious person. Maybe I just don't consider myself a religious person because I don't have a single doctrine or a single belief system that I prescribe to. Maybe I just learned something. What do you think? Do you think because I have doctrine, because I have practices, and because many of those are based in religion, does that make me a religious person? I'm curious. Now, I do feel the need to just say this is a touchy subject, so please handle it with care. I know you will. We're all very respectful in this community, and just know that it's an open community, so we want the honest truth as long as it's not in degradation to someone else's truth, because that's theirs. So what do you think? What is the link? Are they linked? Is spirituality one thing, religion a whole separate other? And how does that affect your experience? Thanks for watching another Journey of Sunday. I'm Andrew Carruthers from The Journeyist. I'll see you next week.